Welcome back to This is Baseball. My name is Brandon Johnson. Thank you for tuning in today. I was out last week. I'm happy to be back on the microphone this week. I don't have a ton planned for this week's show. I know we are in the All-Star break. The All-Star game is tonight on Fox, so I'll be watching that, and I will still say, I say it every year, I think Major League Baseball has the best All-Star game in all of professional sports. I think it's the most interesting, and it's the closest thing to an actual game compared to what the other leagues like the NFL and NBA and NHL put on for their all-star games. Obviously, NFL plays flag football. NBA plays no defense, essentially. And they keep tweaking their all-star game format because it's not working and people aren't interested in it. And baseball just continues to do what they've been doing. And, hey, we're just going to play a baseball game. Now, obviously, in the last 10 years, they removed the All-Star game actually meaning something. If you remember, the All-Star game used to determine who gets home field advantage for the World Series. So you had something to play for, so the players played a little bit harder to get a lot more serious than they do now. But now, with that being gone, it has made the All-Star game a little more lighthearted, a little more fun. You get to see a little bit more personality from the players. You get the player interviews during the game. I know they've been doing those on Sunday Night Baseball during the regular season as well, but it's always nice to peel back the curtain a little bit on the players. But something interesting that's been happening this year that I don't remember happening in years past is some of the complaining that's happening with the All-Star selection from some of the players as far as who's worthy. Should a player get a chance to start or get a chance to be an All-Star if they've only made 5 major league appearances? Should every team have a representative? A lot of different complaints that I don't remember seeing in years past. People have been complaining about Jacob Misiorowski being an all-star for the Brewers after only making 5 starts, which is a little annoying because in those 5 starts, he has a 2.81 ERA, 33 strikeouts, a whip of .896, which is incredibly good. Anytime a pitcher's under 1 for whip, they're having a really good stretch. He's done all that in 25 and 2/3 innings. So I think very well deserved. And what's interesting about the complaints about Jacob Misiorowski is I don't remember the complaints about Paul Skeens being named an all-star last year. Paul Skeens, I think, made 12 starts prior to being named an all-star. Not only was he named an all-star, but he's starting the all-star game in his rookie year. Now, Paul Skeens is starting again in his second year, so obviously it wasn't a fluke, but I think that having Jacob Misiorowski as an all-star is a win for the league. He's somebody that came up and has exceeded expectations and is one of the big talks of the league. And I think he deserves to be there. And we'll see an appearance from him. And it'll be a win for everybody. I saw a quote where I believe Nick Castellanos said that the All-Star game is turning into the Savannah Bananas. And Trey Turner kind of had the same thing. And I would imagine that some of that anger or feeling a certain type of way about it likely comes down to some of their players that didn't get an all-star nod. But I don't know. I think having the players, I think if you're having a great year, obviously you want to be there, but if you're a top story in baseball, I don't see the issue. I guess if you don't like it, you don't have to participate. Now, maybe Trey Turner and Nick Castellanos' anger is because neither of them were named All-Stars in 2025, but I don't know. Don't be a wet blanket. I, for one, am going to enjoy the game tonight. Now let's look around the league a little bit while we have this break. And I'm not ready. I think it's still a little early to talk buyers and sellers because a lot can happen in 2 weeks. But I was asked by a friend if I still thought the Dodgers were going to be World Series champions. And I would say that yes, I think it's going to be, in my opinion, between the Dodgers and Phillies in the NLCS. I think those are two complete teams that have the pitching and the roster to make a deep run in the postseason. Now, on the American League side, there's a lot of questions as to who's going to win the American League East and who's a legit contender in the American League outside of the Detroit Tigers. And I'll be honest, I'm surprised about the Blue Jays' surge of getting into first place with their 2-game lead over the Yankees. I do wonder if that will be sustainable because you have the Red Sox that just won 10 straight. And I think the Yankees will turn it back around. I know offensively they had done basically nothing over the last couple of weeks. But if I was going to pick a World Series right now, I think I would have to go Dodgers and Tigers. And as much as it pains me to say that about the Tigers, I always looked at the Tigers. I've said it a lot. I've always looked at the Tigers and Royals as kind of on the same timeline as far as being competitive. They both made the postseason last year. Expected both of them to take a huge step forward this year and compete for the American League Central. It is clear at this point that one of those teams did that, and that team being the Detroit Tigers. They have an 11.5 game lead over the second place Twins, who are 2 games under 500. Not only are they the best team in the American League Central at 59-38, they are the best team in all of baseball record-wise. And yeah, they took a step forward and then some. Everything's firing on all cylinders for them. They are fantastic at home. They're 32-18. And then they take care of business on the road. They do exactly what they need to. And then with the Royals, it's the same story all season long. Is pitching, starting pitching's great. Offense can't score runs. Bullpen's great. Starting pitching is bad. Offense starts scoring runs. They just can't get everything going at the same time, and it largely is the offense. But now what you're seeing, and it's something that I think we knew but weren't willing to admit, is the Royals they do really well against bad teams, but when they have to play good teams, it all kind of falls apart. You saw that stretch where they played the Rangers, Diamondbacks, and Pirates, not the Rangers, but the Mariners, where they split against the Mariners, took the series against the Diamondbacks, and then swept the Pirates. And then New York Mets come to town, a really good team, and they lose 2 out of 3. According to MLB.com, the Kansas City Royals are 20-34 against teams that are over 500. So if you can't hang with teams that are over 500, you're not a very good team. You can't play the Rockies and White Sox and Marlins, Nationals. You can't play teams like that. Like that. If for some reason they make the playoffs, which at this point I'm leaning against it, you're going to get bounced in the wild card round just because teams are significantly better than you. And you have teams that I don't think even respect you if you're the Royals. You look at when the Yankees came to town, I don't think that they took the Royals seriously at all. And it wasn't even a fight. And the Royals just clearly were the worst team. And Yankees are who stopped your postseason run last year. So should the Yankees make the postseason as well, which I think they will, and the Royals somehow managed to turn this offensive nightmare around in 2025, are you going to get beat by the Yankees again in the ALDS? So you have to start playing better against opponents that you feel you are similar to. So you're going to have a good test coming out of the All-Star break. You're going to have to play a series against the Marlins, which you should win that. If you're the Royals, you should take 2 out of 3 there. But then you go on the road against the Cubs. The Cubs are in first place in the National League Central. Win a series in Chicago. Guardians, Braves, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Twins. You've got, over the next several series, you have pretty good opponents that are similar to you or better. So now's your time. And in that set of series that I was talking about, you're going to have the trade deadline. And I think we're going to know a lot where the Royals stand as far as the trade deadline is concerned. But again, get a little bit closer to that when that starts to creep up on us. So we'll talk about that likely, a couple weeks from now when that's all said and done. I've already mentioned, I think that there's a chance that a Seth Lugo could be on the move to get some pieces back that might not help you this year, but could be something that could help in the future. Kind of like how the Royals did that with Hunter Harvey, who obviously has not done much as far as contributions for the Royals, but like Lucas Erceg. That's kind of what I would expect. I don't know if you'd get major league talent this year like you did last year, just based off of where you are in the standings. But Seth Lugo's been pitching great again. So I think he's going to be a hot name on the market. So you could get a little bit more for a team that thinks that they're an arm away to winning a World Series. You could get a pretty good haul back in return for Seth Lugo. So Seth Lugo, over his last starts, he's gone at least 6 innings every time except for once. And even in that start, he only gave it 4 hits. He just 5 walks, 8 strikeouts. So he just was not efficient. He threw 107 pitches that game, but has given up 5 runs in those last 5 starts over 30 and a third innings. So very, very good. But that's all I have for this week. We will talk All-Star Game recap on Thursday. And I want to dive into this whole salary cap conversation that has been happening. I have a lot of opinions. I've had a lot of opinions over the years. I've not really spoken a whole lot on them, but I want to get into what's going on with that. So catch that on Thursday. I will see you then.